President Jagdeo says Guyana will sign the economic partnership agreement by the end of the month, but he is disappointed that CARIFORUM countries did not await the outcome of ACP-EU talks later this month.
Government says it will take all necessary steps to protect Guyana's interests in the wake of the seizure of a sugar vessel yesterday by Surinamese authorities. The details of these and other stories, business news, and of course the latest sporting action in the Diamond Mineral Water and NCN Sport News and more after these. Good evening, I'm Delicia Fletcher.
And I'm Paul Moore.
With this edition of the 6 o'clock news for today, Wednesday, October 15, 2008. Here's what's happening, Paul.
Thanks, Delicia. Agriculture Minister Robert Persaud has expressed optimism about the future of the sector even in light of the global financial crisis. He says the objective now is to encourage disillusioned investors to tap into the tremendous opportunities available in Guyana. More in this report.
Optimistic that things may improve on the global scene, Agriculture Minister Robert Persaud says if the global financial crisis continues, it can become a grave concern for countries like Guyana. This, he says, can affect exports on prime agricultural commodities.
And if we see that over time people's ability and purchasing power coming down, and that is affecting our importing nations to import the volumes and pay the price, definitely it will have an impact. But we do hope that before it really kicks in here, the situation would have improved.
President Bharat Jagdeo has alluded to measures which are being taken to address some of these concerns. However, Minister Persaud says government is not oblivious to the possible impacts the crisis can have on major exports such as rice and sugar. As such, he says emphasis is being placed on strategies which can reduce costs, increase production, and make the industry more competitive to withstand some of these implications. This also includes aggressive extra-regional agro-investment campaigns.
We still have a food crisis. We now have a financial crisis that is compounding the food crisis. But there are tremendous opportunities, and we do hope that we'll see some of those dollars that would have once gone in the stock exchange, would have done some of it in real estate, some of that coming into agriculture.
Minister Persaud is slated to meet with investors in the United States next month in a bid to develop linkages and support for Guyana's agricultural drive. Reporting for the 6 o'clock news, I'm Shar Dalal.
A farmer has succumbed after being involved in a freak accident on his farm at Aliki on the east bank of Essequibo. Reports are that Gregory Gibson was on his farm around 13:20 on Tuesday, cutting down a tree with a power saw when the tree reportedly fell on him. Investigations surrounding the death of Mr. Gibson are still ongoing. Meanwhile, Agriculture Minister Robert Persaud says plans are being finalized for the implementation of a $20 million diversification program. The program will be officially launched within the next 2 weeks as part of the activities for Agriculture Month. More in this report.
The Agriculture Diversification Program, which is being funded by government and the Inter-American Development Bank, targets the expansion of potential growth areas. It seeks to reposition the sector through the establishment of necessary framework in areas which include the non-traditional crop sector, livestock industry, and aquaculture. Agriculture Minister Robert Persaud says key mechanisms are being undertaken to kickstart the project.
We are, as it were, now at the point of commencing implementation. We do hope to see this project really kicking off in the December-January period, December 08, January 09. But a lot of the preparation, a lot of the staffing issues and what is required to get a project going, those are being dealt with.
Minister Persaud notes that the outcomes of this initiative should be seen by next year.
Very soon you'll see a flurry of contracts and bids inviting tenders and so forth to implement those activities which we have. So there are lots of preparation taking place for this project, and we will see many of the deliverables flowing in 2009.
The investment is intended to have a long-term impact on initiatives within the agricultural sector with specific focus on the regulatory structure, supply and production constraints. Project components include the development of agro-business enterprises, export and facilitation services, and the consolidation of agricultural health and food safety services, and drainage and irrigation rehabilitation. Reporting for the 6 o'clock news, I'm Shar Dalal.
The PNCR says the issues surrounding the delaying of the local government reform should be dealt with at the levels of the opposition leader and the president. Member of Parliament Aubrey Norton says the co-chairman of the Joint Task Force, Clinton Collymore, should not make arbitrary decisions. But Mr. Collymore, in a release yesterday, blamed the party's representatives on the task force for nitpicking and using delaying tactics on the reform process. More in the Sakila Jacobs report.
PNCR Member of Parliament Aubrey Norton said he is appalled by recent statements made by the chairman of the task force on local government elections, Clinton Collymore. He reinforces the party's position that government may have its own agenda for the development of a local government system.
Anybody who would have seen the documentation will know that blame cannot be placed at the feet of the PNCR. It has to be placed at the feet of the PPP. The PNCR from the inception went into these discussions with good faith. Our proposals are clear, but it is evident that the PPP has its own agenda.
The PNCR also responded to Mr. Collymore's suggestion of having the local government reform bills sent to a special cabinet subcommittee for review. This, the party says, is a breach of an agreement between the opposition leader and the president.
If you go to a cabinet that is partisan, you obviously cannot get the kind of results that are needed. What you need here is to have decisions that are reflective of the interests of the people of Guyana. And if you take it to cabinet, it will be partisan. They will seek to remove the empowerment elements for the communities.
Mr. Collymore had stated that the PNCR plans to drag out the process of local government reform at task force level to create problems at the grassroots communities. He stated, choosing a press release, that the party had serious misgivings about bills having already been drafted and placed before them. He also disclosed that the PPPC members do not agree with this ploy, which is delaying the process further. The former government minister stated too that the constitution mandated that several areas of local government be reformed and that the proposal should be submitted to Parliament. Monica Jones, the 6 o'clock news.